Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing another video from Grab the Lantern. Today, it's Tuesday and the patch notes have been posted, which means it's time for us to go through the top 5 changes of patch 13.19. I'll let you guys know what the biggest changes were and what you can be looking forward to in your coming games. 13.19 is the Worlds patch. That means that everything on this patch is what is going to be included in Worlds. Anything released afterwards will not be playable. So if there's a change in 13.20 that you're really excited about to see for pro play, it's not going to have any effect, and this is the last chance Riot will have to affect the metagame of Worlds. With all that aside though, let's go ahead and hop into the changes, starting off with our number 5 change, which are the changes to Briar. Now, while Briar released with something like a 30% win rate, her players has steadily learned how to play her, and her win rate has grown by quite a bit. She's now above 50% win rate as of this writing. This means that Briar's first inclusion in the patch notes is for nerfs, though realistically she's not getting hit too hard. I don't think any of these changes are particularly a big deal. There's a very small attack speed growth, not really a huge deal. Now the biggest thing here is to her W. The healing is decreased very slightly, but primarily these are minions and monsters changes being made to snack attack, which is totally fine. What this means is that Briar is going to have a less healthy clear on her first clear, which, like, oh no, I was only clearing with full health. Maybe I will clear with only 80% health after my full first clear, right? Like, it's really not a big deal. And she's getting some very fun quality of life changes here. Q being tagged as an attack reset for Hail of Blades as an example. A Blood Frenzy now displays its remaining duration and also clarifies that you can W during your empowered R Blood Frenzy and it doesn't go away. Like, these are very nice changes overall for Briar that should help her feel a little bit better to play and don't really move the needle on her power level too much. So just because she's showing up here, don't be too concerned about her being quote-unquote nerfed. The number 4 change on this week's patch are the changes to Jhin here. Now, these aren't a tremendously long change list, but I think this is quite impactful to point out here, as the base damage of Jhin's curtain call shots have gone up by a fairly substantial margin at every rank. And also keep in mind that this is per shot. That means that if you're landing all 4 shots of Jhin's ultimate at rank 1, you're doing somewhere in the ballpark of like 50 extra damage for no reason at all. And obviously this is minimum damage as well, but I really like this as far as giving Jhin a little bit more oomph. And also look at the damage numbers that they buffed it to. Simply perfection. Moving on to the number 3 changes, though, we're going to be talking about Rek'Sai. Now, Rek'Sai apparently has been really taking a lot of names up in high MMR, and as a result, Riot are nerfing her. That said, they are nerfing her by quite a substantial amount here, I'm not going to lie to you guys. The maximum heal when burrowed has been decreased, Queen's Wrath damage has been decreased, and the bonus movement speed on burrow has been reduced by a substantial margin. Rek'Sai overall is going to be feeling much weaker at basically every point in the game, dealing less damage, healing for less, and not even moving as fast while burrowed. She did get some degree of power back with the unburrowed damage. This is actually a pretty spicy buff, but it doesn't do anything because this is a last max on Rek'Sai anyways, so by the time you're feeling these damage numbers, it's not doing anything for the champion because it's level 18, right? And Rek'Sai should have won the game by that point. As a result, I think this is like a weirdly hard hit to Rek'Sai. I would assume that maybe Riot are worried about Rek'Sai becoming a threat in pro play, but suffice it to say, I think that she has been dramatically nerfed on this patch, and you should be looking forward to that in your coming games. Moving on to the number 2 changes here, we're going to be talking about LeBlanc. Once again, LeBlanc is ruining League of Legends. When is she not doing that? My personal biases aside, though, LeBlanc has sort of shifted into a manaless AD, attack speed, bruiser top lane, who basically abuses all the melee champions top lane, builds Static Shiv into other AD and attack speed items, and then just works as a permanent split pusher for the entire game, shoving waves of Static Shiv, plugging away at towers, and then when you try to actually do anything about her, she escapes thanks to all of her mobility, plus Ethereal Chains as a very easy way to prevent a melee champion from getting onto your face. Is very obnoxious and frustrating, and Riot don't like it either. Now, they're not ruling the build out entirely, but they are saying if you're opting into this, you are going to pay for it in terms of how many spell casts you get. And as a result, these mana numbers here are actually like hugely impactful. Only getting 25 mana growth per level as opposed to 55 is massive, and that's on top of a mana regeneration growth nerf as well. So LeBlanc is just going to have so much less mana at every stage in the game. Now, if you're still building AP LeBlanc, you're basically not going to feel it. The second you get a Lost Chapter, you have effectively infinite mana anyways, but if you're trying to go for this AD LeBlanc build, your spell cast will have to be very carefully used and paced out in order to not yourself at critical junctures, which I think is a very good way to help nerf this. Riot have compensated AD LeBlanc as well by saying, hey, we're going to give you a little bit more ratio on Distortion and Ethereal Chains, so if you're going AP, those abilities will hit a little bit harder. Overall, I'm a big fan of the direction of these changes. I kind of wish they'd have just removed this build from LeBlanc's repertoire entirely, but until Static Shiv is deleted from the game, she will always be able to do this, so Riot, get on getting rid of Static Shiv, but until then, these changes I think will go over just fine. Finally, the number one change on this week's patch are the changes to Lee Sin. Now, obviously, there's the "It's Worlds, better buff Lee Sin" meme, but honestly, when was the last time you've seen Lee Sin in your own games? Probably not very regularly. I think I've maybe seen him a handful of times this year, and this is a popular champion. If you're not seeing Lee Sin players, like, something terrible has happened to that champion. And I really like the direction of these changes, honestly. I think that making W into a button that's worth pressing at early ranks makes a lot of sense. Currently, it's worth nothing more than another proc of your passive, and so making it a button that you actually feel good about pressing is a very nice change for Lee Sin, right? I've even preemptively nerfed his E so that way top Sin doesn't come back into the metagame because he has very easy access to good wave clear and trading potential with Tempest, on top of being able to then double dip into the lifesteal and spell vamp off of Iron Will, being able to say, hey, actually, we're going to preemptively hit this because we're buffing up the W. I think these changes make a lot of sense. I don't know that they move the needle too much on Lee Sin, but I think it's a good direction for the champion overall. And that is going to be it for me today, guys. Those are the top 5 changes of patch 13.19. You'll have to know what you're most excited for down in the comments section below. I'm excited for more LeBlanc and Static Shiv nerfs, but honestly, until they get into Static Shiv, I'm not holding my breath for too long. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave it a like. And if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. I apologize if I sound a little weird. I just got over being sick, you guys, so that was the explanation for that. Once again, thank you guys, though, so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all later.